Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and today I have a very special deck profile, the first place winner of the Pro Play Tour free weekly championship. They do these every week, and also tons of other tournaments, including the weekend championship, which takes place every weekend during quarantine. But this was a over 100-person event, and Burning Abyss took first place. And as soon as I saw this, I had to get in touch with Franco so we could discuss this deck. Franco, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone how you're doing.
Hello, my name is Franco from Argentina, and doing very good. I'm really happy with the first place. Be it a deck I love, so pretty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Happy.
You had I believe it was 7 rounds of Swiss, right? So this is like regional level type of numbers. And given the fact that it's like, we are under quarantine, that's pretty sizable amount. So the fact that you probably had to play through just a slew of, Adamancipator, Eldritch, all that. Yeah. But let's talk about first, why did you decide to play this deck? I know looking at this list, this is like very old school Burning Abyss feelings, right? So talk me through that. What made you decide you wanted to play this deck?
Well, I have been playing Burning Abyss for a long time now. And I have played the Denko Seka list, everything with Snow, with Hydrolander, all of that. It's my favorite deck full time. And I've been playtesting it a lot since Dinka had the list that it's very similar to this, what he brought back. I just been playtesting and making it better and better for the meta. And I think I was very happy with what I come in the end. I even talked with Dinka and he helped me with the side deck and the main.
Yeah, and this is one of the things I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! How it just transcends boundaries. You're working with Dinka Bowie all the way over in Germany and you're in Argentina. I just love it. This is so cool. So the one thing I do want to talk about before we go into the card by card here, what is your deck trying to do? What is the win condition ultimately that you're trying to establish with this deck?
Yeah, so mainly this is a deck that focuses on stopping your opponent's plays. It has a lot of great management with Fiend Griffin. So you're trying to stop, you need to know exactly where to hit your opponent so they don't keep amassing, cards. So, and ultimately, usually your win condition is Access Code Talker or just keep getting more and more cards than your opponent with Skarn, with Dante. So usually it's just a very heavy control deck that stops everything your opponent does when played correctly.
Yeah, we'll get to Access Code Talker in a minute. This is definitely starting to be the star of Eternity Code for sure. So let's go ahead and go into the card by card really quick here. So for your main deck, you have 1 copy of Absolute King Backjack. Man, if there's a throwback. 1 copy of Alec, 3 Ash Blossom, a Barbar, 1 Calcab, 1 Seer, 3 Effect Veiler, 3 copies of Farfa, 3 Fiendish Rhino Warrior, 1 Graph, 1 Rubik, 3 Skarm, a single Token Collector, 2 copies of Tour Guide because sadly it is only at 2, 1 lone spell card being Foolish Burial, probably the best one you could have picked. Then for the traps, very heavy trap lineup, 3 Fiend Griefing, again, huge throwback to the old days, 3 Infinite Impermanence, 2 Karma Cut paired with 3 Paleozoic Dinomicious, and 3 copies of Trap Trick. So let's go ahead and start with the monsters here. The first thing I kind of want to discuss is the 1 copy of Backjack and the 1 Token Collector. So Token Collector is this card that has started to see a pretty decent amount of play, but only opting to play the 1. I want to pick your brain about that. And then also, I'd say the Burning Abyss ratios are fairly standard, but let's talk about Backjack and then also your hand trap selection as well.
Perfect. Well, Backjack is a card I think is incredibly strong, ridiculously strong. And I wanted to run 2, but in this meta, if I lose dice roll, I want to see hand traps in my hand. So I just had to cut it to 1. So, but usually that was enough. I never missed it in the tournament. And once it resolves, it's this card that first your opponent doesn't know what you stack there. It could be a monster, it could be a trap, it could be nothing.
Right.
But it just creates this lingering thread that it's what he has there, what's he gonna do? You can start, for example, a trap, and it's a trap your opponent can't destroy, can't Phoenix, can't Cyclone. It's gonna come whenever I want it to come off the deck. And that's what makes it so deadly. And the reason for the 1 card collector is because it's a Fiend. And so it can be milled out of Dante, it can be sent out of Rhino or Fiend Griffin or with Bea. So, and once it's on the graveyard, it's just like this. Again, this card that is on deck, it's never gonna resolve because your opponent's not gonna summon tokens, but it's just they're preventing them from doing that.
As if this card couldn't get any better, right? It's also a fiend for Burning Abyss. Who knew? And then talk about your hand traps. I see we got the 3 Ash and the 3 Valor. Were you happy with this selection? Do you feel like you wanted more or less? How'd that go?
No, actually, I think it was perfect. So basically, my hand traps were, I would consider 10 here. It's 3 Ash, 3 Valor, 3 Impermanence, and 1 Collector. I think those are what I consider hand traps. So usually I would end up opening 1 hand trap at least if I'm going second. Ash is a level 3 and it's like pretty generic, so it worked around. I have even made Dante with this card, so it worked. Valor is there because, first of all, that very like generic stopper for many decks, and also for the Celine combo. So it's a spellcaster and you can link climb. And Impermanence also works with Trap Trick and Backjack. So all my hand traps have a synergy with the deck.
Yeah, I love it. It's so cool. Foolish Burial, we don't really have to talk about. It's like the best card you can play in Burning Abyss. So let's talk about the traps here. So 3 Fiend Griefing. This is a throwback. I personally love this card. I remember when this card was first released, people were like, BA best deck, 100%, because this card is just that good. Tell me how this performed.
No, it was honestly, it's a crazy card. The fact you're like removing a card from your opponent's deck and then you're doing something else. It could be a Farfight, it could be a Scarm. It's such a versatile card, and like in this meta, well, like Graveyard is so important. Being able to even send cards back to the deck, it's devastating for some decks. Destroying. I faced Eldritch Orcus and I just destroyed him with Griffin.
I could imagine, yeah, for sure. So then we also have the 3 Dinomicious and the 2 Karma Cut. Obviously, we want to have multiples here for the Trap Chick synergy as well. But I know Dinomicious is kind of been the go-to for BA for a while. Karma Cut used to be, and then it fell out of favor because Dinomicious is a little bit better, some would argue. But for BA, you could argue Karma Cut's better because you want to get those BAs in the grave. How did these work out?
Oh, they were amazing, honestly. Miscus is like a crazy card. Like it's a banish, and it can be either a monster, it can be a spell, and even the Graveyard effect, it comes up so much. Like you have an extra body to link climb. It's so crazy, and the discards it just help you plus. Karma Cut in some matchups it can be like absolutely devastating. For example, many people are running just 2 Golden Lords, so if you resolve a good Karma Cut, you just won the game right there, right now. And Salamangreat gets hit super hard by Karma Cut too. You just banish 2 wolves and they are out basically of wolves. They just keep with 1. And well, Trap Trick's like this toolbox card that just opens for whatever the trap you want to play at that specific time. And also it can be like a really good bait for Cyclone.
So were you happy overall with your main deck, or was there something you feel like you'd want to change in retrospect moving forward?
Honestly, I think the main deck, I'm pretty happy with it. I think the ratios are correct. I tested a lot. For this format, I think it's perfect. I'd rather not play this many hand traps, but I have to. That's the answer.
Yeah, I feel like you do as well. So let's talk about your extra deck now. So we have 1 Dante Pilgrim of the Burning Abyss, 1 Beatrice, 2 Dante Traveler of the Burning Abyss. We have Levier, Access Code Talker, Crystron Halley Fibrax, Gravity Controller, IP Masquerena, Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn, Celine for the Access Code Talker combo, Trisbania, and Zeroboros. One thing notably missing from this extra deck is Cherubini. Yeah, so let's talk about the absence of Cherubini first before we get into the rest of the extra deck.
Yeah, so when I started playing the deck, I was playing Cherubini because in theory it seems like such a good card, right? But the thing is, in this version, it doesn't do much for you. It's such a risk card to go into because you're losing 2 cards to make a card that's doing what everything else in the deck does, which is sending cards to a graveyard. It's such a great combo starter, but usually in this meta, like most of my turn 1 plays weren't even going for IP. I was trying to go for Bea Pass to avoid getting Nibiru. So I was never going into Cherubini ever, so I just cut out. It was a dead card in my extra.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. You would think that a card as powerful as Cherubini would just be an auto-include, but I think that's some very good reasoning as to why not to play it. For the rest of the extra deck, there are some things to talk about. We have the, let's call it the Access Code Talker package, basically being Needle Fiber, Celine, and Access Code Talker. For people who don't know, you go Halley Fibrax into a Effect Veiler, then you can go Celine into another, get the Effect Veiler back effectively, and then you go into Access Code Talker for pretty much nothing. I mean, and then that's like 3 pops and like a 5,300 damage card. Like the combo is just crazy. So that's that. How did that perform? I mean, was that like effectively your win condition most of the time?
I mean, Access Code Talker was. Didn't go into Hulky Verax combos that much because my way into Hulky Verax is Rubik or normal summon a Veiler or an Ash, and that usually got stopped because it was such a threat. They knew what was coming, but I did resolve it a few times. I think it was 3 or 4 times when like my opponent just stopped I baited all their negates, and I just normal tour guide Rubik comes and it's just game from there. XSL was insane. It was such a strong card and so easy to make, honestly.
Well, Burning Abyss used to play Borrelsword Dragon too, so this effectively just replaced it because it's a lot easier to make because you only need 2 monsters instead of 3 for the Borrelsword, and effectively does the same thing. Any other MVPs here out of the extra deck you want to talk about?
Well, Bea is nuts. Trisbana. Trisbana is a really, really good card in this meta. It just destroys Eldritch. A lot of times I would like make Bea with IP. They will send Golden Lord try to pop Bea. I will chain Bea and chain Masquerena and leave a Trisbane on the field. They had to get rid of that, or in the end phase I'm gonna blow up their back. All the cards I set in the end phase, I'm just gonna banish them. And that was game.
Trisbane and both Zero Boros. I mean, both those cards are just incredibly powerful, and BA's been able to take advantage of them for quite some time. So now let's go ahead and get into your side deck here. So we have three Chaos Hunter. We haven't seen that in a while. 2 DD Crow, 3 Nibiru, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Evenly Matched, and the 1 copy of Imperial Order. Let's start with Chaos Hunter. So what's the theory behind this one?
Okay, so many people are gonna say, why are you playing this, or why are you playing Lancia? Well, the actual reason I'm playing Chaos Hunter is for the Emancipator matchup, and it's not because of the banish restriction it has, which is good, like it prevents them from going into Blood Dragon extensions. But I need a hand trap that just drawing that hand trap, like I could side like either all my side deck with hand traps to try to stop them. I couldn't find the space for that, so I decided to side one hand trap that if I drew it, it was important enough to stop their combo, and that was Chaos Hunter. And the reason is because you can discard Farfa, you can discard Rhino or Backjack, and that way you're doing something they aren't prepared for. They are prepared to extend through Veilers and Ashes and Nibirus, but they can't stop if you Farfa the rock monster very early into the combo, or you drop a Rhino, send a Backjack, and maybe you're using Dinomischus or Karma Cut on turn 0, and that just destroys completely their board. And they can't extend.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. It's very reminiscent of like Multi-Faker Imperm, like if you're playing Altergeist, where you're able to generate this added value off of playing a card like Chaos Hunter because you're exclusively playing Burning Abyss. I like that a lot. DD Crow, Nibiru, I would say these are pretty standard for the most part. A lot of people are on Nibiru specifically. How'd DD Crow work out for you?
Oh, it actually won me the Eldritch games. Like, I just banished the Golden Land cards before they could put the elixirs, so they had no interruptions on my turn, so I just went ham. It was good in the Striker matchup too. Nibiru, actually, I never resolved it because everyone was playing around it, so it was fine.
And what about the rest of your extra deck? Anything else noteworthy? I mean, it's 3 Cyclone, 3 Evenly, 1 1 Imperial Order. That's I'd say these are like pretty traditional side deck cards for the most part.
Imperial is there because of Striker, obviously, and it actually won me the last round. I drew it on game 3. It just won me right there, right now. Evenly, I never resolved it, but it's such a good card, especially now that Eldritch is not playing anymore consistently the counter trap. Many people had opted to take it out, like even from their side deck. So I have seen evenly resolving a lot more. And Cyclo is just nuts. Such a good card in this format, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So that's going to do it for the deck profile. The one question I do want to ask, and I usually like to ask this at the end of each of these, is if someone wanted to pick this deck up, what advice would you give them to help them succeed in this current metagame?
I'm going to say you need to learn your matchups a lot. You need to know very well what you're facing so you can hit them in the right place, because you don't have negations in this deck besides maybe Ash and Veiler, which are hand traps. You have cards that remove, and that means you have to know what to remove and when to remove, so you need to test a lot versus the meta.
Franco, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure all the fans are going to enjoy this one because BA has a definitive cult following for sure. Any final shout out you want to give before we wrap things up?
Shout outs to Dinka for helping me with the deck list, and to Red Lotus Gaming, which is my community. And that's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and if you want to see more deck profiles like this in the future. Thank you again so much, Franco. And guys, we will see you next time.